Hi, we're Nia and Marianne from Seren Health Coaching. We are metabolic health coaches who are passionate about good metabolic health for everyone. We also love to chat about all things health and to share as much information as we can with people who want to make changes to their lifestyle but aren't quite sure where to start. We're going to release a new episode every Friday where we talk about a different aspect of health. So do subscribe and let us know what you think. We'd also love to know what you're interested in too. So if there's something that you'd like us to have a chat about, do send us a message and we'll do our best to cover it soon. Hello, Marianne.
Hi, Nia.
How are you doing today?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good, good.
Feeling motivated.
You're
Yeah.
feeling motivated. Well, that's good, isn't it?
Because I want to
What is it
talk
that you're feeling
about
motivated about?
I want to talk about the motivational wave.
Ooh, okay. So can we all have one, please?
Yeah, we've all got one. It just tends to go up and down. So it's quite an interesting phenomena and
Mm,
really useful to know about when you're trying to make healthy lifestyle changes. So um, we do Yes, we do all get one.
great.
But maybe we aren't aware how it works. And then we tend to get really frustrated with ourselves when we're losing motivation without really understanding that this is an incredibly expected and natural phenomenon,
Mm,
which is why we're calling it a wave, of course. So imagine,
yes.
you're going up a nice steep curve, but you are getting to the top and you're going to come down the other side. Who knew?
Of course. Okay, so this is probably quite a well-known thing in behavioural science, is it?
It certainly is, and it was
Okay.
first described by the famous American behavioral scientist B.J. Fogg, who's the sort
Mm,
of father of the whole habit thing,
mhm,
and is a key part of his tiny habits framework. He talks about this motivational wave,
mm.
and I do think knowing about it can explain a lot of one's past failures when it comes to making changes in our own
Mm.
lives.
Yeah, I think, one of the things we often say is, why can't we just decide to make a change and then
I
just do
know.
it? Because it sounds so easy, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
of course, when you actually have to get down to brass tacks, it is anything but easy.
yeah,
And um, there's also the danger of people like us thinking like that because we have been successful in making changes we've
yes,
managed to maintain, and we forget what
yeah,
it's like to be the person at the beginning
yeah.
who wants to make the changes. So it's a good reminder to us all,
It is
really.
a good
I mean,
reminder.
and also
Yeah.
perhaps we should take up some new habits, Marianne.
Well, we've always got some on the list waiting
That's
in
very
the
true.
sort of wings, haven't we? I mean,
Waiting in the
we
wings.
aren't finished. We aren't
No, no.
finished by a long chalk. Um, and I suppose it's part of the next behavioural change thing um, is people say, of course, you're the sum of your habits, if you've heard
Mm.
that, which I think was coined by James Clear in Atomic Habits.
Oh,
So he talks about you being the sum of your habits.
some of your habits and routines. Hmm.
Hmm.
You are quite the name dropper today.
you, I am, but I'm fascinated by behavioral science,
Yeah.
and especially around habits, because I sort of never knew about them years ago. I didn't really understand them. I was never very habitual. Didn't want to be so either.
Yeah, I
So,
think I was only ever taught that there were bad habits there to break.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes,
Have a
you're
good
right.
one.
But back to the motivational wave.
Okay.
Motivation of any kind often starts strong.
Mhm.
You sort of would expect that by the nature of the of the phrase.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It wanes a little and then it wanes a lot.
Yeah.
So simply think of that as the wave, and it's got that natural ebb and flow, and that can take a long time to do the whole wave, and or it can
Mm,
be really pretty short.
mm,
Um, and this is where the habit business comes in. So if you, it's all about building habits in quickly on the
mm,
up bit
mm.
of that wave, so that you expect the motivation to decrease.
Mm.
and then you've got something to work with. Because I think the problem is if you've only got the wave, um, we know how this is going to end,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So the habits are kind of like your backup, aren't they? They're the kind of thing
Yes,
that's going to be autopilot, it's going
exactly.
to take over when you lose interest, and you're almost
Exactly.
doing it without realizing it.
Yeah.
Um, so this sounds really simple, and you're sort of saying that the motivational wave is part of what a lot of people call willpower, which we've
Yeah, so
spoken
when
about
I was
before.
when I was thinking about motivational waves, I thought, oh, this is sort of what people think of as
Mm,
willpower, because they'll tell you that they had great hopes and a lot of willpower to
mm,
start with, and
mm,
then it started to wane. So I think the two things very connected, actually.
mm.
And they'll often describe, as that wave comes down, they'll describe the feeling of not having any willpower.
Yeah,
So I do think they connected. And they
yeah.
also connected to that other subject I really like, which was the conscious and the unconscious mind. The fact is, your motivational wave is generally in your conscious mind.
Mm,
So unless you're going to sort some programming out, um, and begin to build some changes in program. Once that wave comes down the other side, you'll be back exactly where you
yeah,
started, and actually maybe in a sort of worse position because you now feel that you failed again.
yeah. So it's like building the foundations
Yeah,
um, to sort of put a tent up over the top. And then when the tent comes down, you've still got the foundations, and then you can
yeah,
re-put the
yeah,
tent up at a
yeah.
different time because the foundations are there.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I suspect we often set ourselves up for disappointment this way because we don't understand this. So we're very
Mm.
motivated and we expect to stay that motivated.
Yeah.
And so we almost absolutely set up to fail. I
Yeah.
mean, when you think about it. Remember that lovely book we read called The Diet Trap Solution by
Yes.
the American psychologist Judy Beck? And she describes why restricted calorie diets often don't work in such a vivid way that
Mm.
it
Mm.
really reminded me of the motivational wave because she really describes it well.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I sort of realised that that curve existed.
Yeah,
And so she does really paint it very well and explain that,
yeah,
you've had all these attempts to change something and it didn't
yeah,
quite work out, and
yeah,
you've never really, it's
yeah,
again using that analogy that I've used before, that one size does not fit all. We are told it does. We're told that this new
yeah,
latest fad will be the
yeah.
answer to all
We
our problems.
promised the next
Yeah,
one is going to work.
but
Yeah,
it just doesn't. So
yeah.
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, she describes it so well, and it resonates because we've all been there. So you
Mm.
get this new plan, whatever this plan is, could be anything, exercise, diet, whatever, but some sort of plan. It can be self improvement of some sort,
Oh
but
yes.
this one's going to be different because you're
Mm.
really motivated now, and you've been promised almost. And look at all the before and afters and look at the testimonials. I mean, this cannot fail, right? All you have to do is keep to the plan,
Mhm.
and this is going to be great. So it promises you just what you want. And in your mind's eye, this is what I like. In your mind's eye, you're already halfway there.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
Before
Yeah,
you've
it's
even
like,
started, you're trying to work it out because you find yourself dreaming. If we're talking about weight management,
yeah.
you're already dreaming that in 12 weeks' time you're going to be in that slinky dress at your sister's wedding. This is very typical.
Yes.
And your ex will be there and they'll be so sorry when they
When they
see
see
you.
you, yeah, yeah,
I've done this myself. And you've shopped now and you've got ready
yeah.
for your new plan,
Yeah,
okay?
it's like you filled in the card, when we talked about having a weight loss target. So you
Yeah,
filled in
yeah,
the
fully
card and
got.
you can see yourself at
Yeah,
that end.
absolute.
You're there
Yeah, this
already.
is easy. This is
Yeah.
easy.
And then
Okay.
of course you have to start on Monday or the 1st of January,
Yeah.
or after you come back from your holiday to the Bahamas,
Oh,
or,
yes,
"Oh,
haven't we
no, I
heard all
can't start
those?
this week because it's so and
Uh,
so's birthday, and
yeah.
I'll have to have cake," or anything that, you have a
Yeah,
new
yeah,
beginning
yeah,
without anything that in the way. And
yeah,
the truth is that they're always gonna be there.
Yes.
I mean, I personally cannot pick a time of year that there isn't a social
Exactly.
occasion.
But haven't we heard this so many times of people
Yeah,
saying, "Well, I won't be able to do this till July because that's the first time I'll have a little bit of free time
to do it
to put
myself.
enough
Yeah.
energy into denying myself some of these foods or whatever it is you're doing." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And the
Let's
truth is it just doesn't work like that, and you've
no.
actually got to say, "I'm gonna do it despite all of those things," and
Yes.
part of
And
this is going to
yeah.
be, you know
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
the
it's
trouble is, you know
why you're doing it really. I
yeah,
mean, mm.
exactly. And then the trouble is again, we talked about the weight loss target, didn't we? And how weight loss doesn't always correspond as you go through. Because at the beginning, it's fabulous. You lose your
Yes.
weight,
Oh, yes.
particularly in week one, lots of it's water.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
can be tricky if you don't know that, because in week two, it's going to slow down. And
Inevitably, you don't know that and then you've done the maths, haven't
oh,
you?
and then people
Oh,
get ever so
dear.
annoyed when they do the maths. So I
They've
lost
done the
5 pounds in
maths,
the
so
first week.
they
So therefore,
yes.
every week I will lose 5 pounds because
Yeah.
I'm eating exactly the same amount of calories. And
Yeah.
therefore, by week 22, I'm going to be,
I'll almost be non-existent. I'll have
oh,
to,
yeah,
yeah, anyway. I mean, it is I've done this myself, done the
we've
maths.
all done it. We've all done
Yeah,
it. But
and
actually,
then yeah,
sometimes you have to hear it back to
you
yourself
have
to
to,
realize
and
how
this is
crazy that
what
is.
she does so well in this book, is that she
Yeah.
paints you this picture and you laugh at yourself because you have absolutely been there. So
Yes.
then week two gets a little bit tougher, doesn't it?
Oh,
Because
yes.
now you're thinking this isn't quite as exciting because you weigh yourself about 3 times a day, and it's looking like the trend is not quite week one's trend for a
Mm,
start.
mm,
And week three, you really start to hit the buffers because now you're doing all this incredibly hard work, but you're not always getting the same reward. So,
mm,
week three, that motivational curve, I mean, this is not, we're not talking in, exact terms. It
mm,
can take longer for some people's curve to come down and it can take less time. But
mm.
often by about 3 weeks, people start to lose some of that, what they would call willpower, and I would
Power,
call
yeah.
the motivational curve because it's coming down.
Mm.
And then they go out with work for a drink, or they get a cold, or they go away for the weekend, or they have dinner with friends, and then it all goes to pot.
Yeah.
It's such a resonating story.
And then you sit there and you say, "But it's okay because I've been really, really good
Yeah,
for 3 weeks, so I deserve this. I deserve this time off,
yeah,
this weekend
yeah,
away, whatever it is, because I will start again on Monday and remember that everything is going to go to plan because I've done it before and it's fine."
yeah. You know what to
Um,
do. Yeah,
but yeah, exactly. But then you don't weigh yourself for a bit because actually you
yeah. You
have
don't want to
been
look.
you haven't been naughty, so you do need to just double check that, you're
Yeah.
not gonna do that. But it takes longer to get back to that
Yes.
thing, and
Well,
actually you
sometimes it's
may
almost impossible to get back on track. It
yeah, you
seems,
might try, but by
yeah,
lunchtime you've fallen off again, as it
exactly.
were.
Or you
Yeah.
think I'll just start next Monday. And this is incredibly common sort of scenario.
Mm, mm,
And this is why the motivational curve is sort of good to know about, because this isn't just you. This
mm,
is this is a phenomena we really do know about.
mm. And then the trouble is you're restarting or trying to
Yeah.
restart, your
Yeah.
motivation is much lower. The added
Yes.
issue now is that you've lost a bit of
Yeah.
confidence because
Yes.
if you did step on the scale, for example, it may well
Yeah,
have
yeah,
gone up,
yeah.
and then that's demotivating.
Yeah.
And then your initial programming that tells you you can't actually do this, that
Yeah, that
hard
one
drive
in the
that's running,
background on the hard drive. Yeah.
yeah, is going, well, see, told you so.
Yeah.
And then, it's really hard. So, how are we going to help people now make these changes, knowing all of
Right.
this?
So
I mean,
now we've resonated all this.
yeah,
Yes.
it
How
might
are
be
we
that that was
actually going to
enough
help
for some
them?
people.
So I suppose there are a few things that might be useful to consider. So at least knowing about this curve is very useful.
I think so, yes.
Um, and it might help you just to be kinder to yourself for a start, to realize this isn't just you. Because
Mm,
sometimes that's the only thing that helps at this point. And
yes.
it explains why believing in your willpower is never a good idea, because
Mm,
none of us really have any. It's to do with that motivational curve and it's going to wear off.
mm,
Um, And okay, some people are better at keeping to plans than others. There's no doubt about it. And we
Mm.
could, we could talk about personality types and all that. But generally speaking, we all come unstuck at some point
Yes.
for all
Yeah.
sorts of reasons. And the fact is, if you don't understand this, you can use this to beat yourself up all the time if you stumble because,
Yeah.
you're programming saying, actually, you've done this before and you were useless.
Yeah.
So, or you've overridden the program and said, no, but this time it's going to be different. But
Mm.
then
Mm.
slowly the little holes appear in the plan and
Yeah.
you're back where you started. But I also think you're also on the back foot, you're back, but you're back in a worse place now because
Yeah.
now you sort of think, oh no, this has happened again. So now I really know I'm never going to do
Yeah,
this.
and we get people who say, don't we? Well, I've been trying to
Yeah,
reverse my diabetes for such a long time. I don't think I can actually do it. And
yeah,
you think, well, of course you
exactly.
can. It's just, well, you may
You
be able
need the
to.
right, you need the right sort of help, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
advice.
And I do find it interesting that the negative voice is always so much stronger than
Yeah,
the
oh
positive
yeah.
voice. And and I think unfortunately sometimes it can be easier to lean into that negative voice. In fact,
Mm.
it's almost more
Well, we
comfortable
all do,
to
yeah.
knock ourselves down than it is to build ourselves up. I
Nobody
find
ever
that
taught you to
fascinating.
build yourself up. I mean,
Yeah,
mostly we were taught
to
not to.
minimize. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I do find that interesting. But I think that's why we're just so keen on helping you start
Mm,
small because,
mm,
building these doable changes, building on the habits with all these rewards and confidence building
yeah,
that makes it sustainable long term is so much more empowering than
exactly.
giving up at week 3 in a heap on the sofa going, "Well, I told you so," and then not
Yeah,
doing anything at all. Because the real
yeah.
risk here, of course, is that you start with these massive intentions of improving your health, but you end up not doing anything at all because you've fallen completely
Failed again.
on the wayside.
Mm,
Yeah.
exactly.
And people leave it years, don't they? They do leave it years before they then go back and do
And I
things.
don't blame them because I
And
think
I
it
don't blame them
is
either.
no,
So,
it's
or they
it's
just
very
get that
hard.
that decision in their head that this is me now. This is just who I am. I'm always going to be like this. And of course that's not true, but it's so, so hard to break that
We
when you've
still,
gone all out.
we try and help people make small changes and then start to look at how changing their environment makes it easier
Mm,
to keep to those. So, James Clear does a lot about that too, tiny, tiny changes and then building them into your environment it's like, not keeping ice cream in your freezer is part of your
yeah.
new environment
And
because you
actually
really
that's
can't
part of
eat it at 8 o'clock at night if you haven't
yeah.
got any. Well, you
It's
can,
part
but
of being kind to yourself, isn't it,
yes,
actually?
exactly. You're
I
like
think it's a
self-caring.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Making changes to your environment is in the end key because
yes.
lots of things you won't necessarily want to do in the moment, like my real irritation of trying to have to get in on my rower every morning, and I
Mm.
I still 2 years later think I really don't want to row this morning. So I say that out loud. My husband must be very irritated. So every morning I say, "Oh
Don't
God,
wanna
I don't
row.
want to get on the
Yeah.
rower again," and
It's like every morning
couldn't.
my husband tells me he's the tiredest he's ever been. I mean, every single morning he's more tired than the last.
Oh, poor chap. Um,
Yeah, it's
and
awful for him.
and then I think maybe I'll just get in the shower today and bypass the rower because it's a bit cold and it's raining and I slept really badly and nobody's watching, are they? Etc. Etc. And
Yeah.
but I don't because it's so doable for me.
Mm.
I literally cannot think of a credible excuse other than
Not to do
having
it.
I don't know, influenza maybe. But generally speaking, I cannot think of a good reason not to stumble across the corridor in my pajamas, get on this rower. I listen
And
to
do it.
something while I'm doing it. I'm always in a bad mood when I get on it. And when I get off it, I'm in a much
In a
better
better mood.
mood. And then I
Yeah.
do 20 minutes generally, doing, stacking those habits with a few other strength training exercises.
Mm.
I'm completely amazed in myself. Now,
Yeah,
if you
see?
told me that I had to spend 20 minutes every morning killing myself on that rower, I'll tell you what, I would find some very good arguments
Mm,
about not getting on it. So that is the point, isn't it? You've got to make things easy. You've got to make
yeah.
them almost impossible not to
Not to do.
do.
But you see, this is the thing though, because I remember when you got this rower
Yeah.
in about 2021,
Yeah.
and you did start incredibly small.
Yeah,
You
I
know, you
did.
only did a few minutes, and
Exactly.
then you gradually
Yeah, yeah.
increased it, and then you added the strength training on and all of the other stuff.
Exactly.
So I think this is just a,
And I still
Marianne
don't
didn't
push
go from
myself.
0 to master
Yes.
rower overnight.
Yeah. No.
It sounds like it now, but I was there and I bear witness to the fact that it really
No,
did
no.
not happen like that.
No, no, no.
Um,
And I don't expect my motivational curve to help me at this point.
no.
There's much more interesting things about why I do it. So
Yeah.
now I think this is interesting. So I don't have a motivational curve.
Mm.
Um, so rather than initial excitement, I know exactly why I'm doing it now because, and it's really important to me and nobody else. So
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for anybody else. I have control over my health and well-being in a way I never knew,
Mm.
and I really want to be functional and autonomous as long as I can. And I want to enjoy life, and this includes being able to hike, swim, get out the bath, do all the other things, pick up my grandchildren,
Mm.
and
Mm.
I've made it really quick and easy to do. And I do it without having to change into special clothes or anything like that. And
Yeah.
I also built in rewards, which are still there. So I am not allowed to get into my wonderful warm shower till I've done it.
Yeah.
So I'll still moan and I'll still say I don't really want to do that, but I will do it. And when I get in the shower, I feel great
Mm.
because
Mm.
I've just invested, I don't know, 10 minutes of strength training, which doesn't sound very much, but I'm so consistent
Yeah.
that that's got to
Yeah.
be how many? That's 70 minutes
A week.
a week
Mm.
of
So
strength training.
strength training, amazing.
And don't forget habit stacking, which is really useful. So once you've stacked one little habit, just go a tiny next bit. So I do 30 push-ups now. I think I started with about 3, and I was a heap on the floor.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
that too because you couldn't do the full push-up for
No,
ages, could you? And then you had to learn
I
how to do
still
it. Yeah.
do a mix of push-ups,
Yeah.
but I do
See?
30 every morning. It's amazing. And the quicker I do them, the quicker I get it done and the quicker I get in that shower. So
Yeah.
I sort of pace myself, but it's not about, it's not about a
Mm.
competition. So you see what I'm trying to get at. It's
Yeah. So
you're not always
ultimately,
going to expect to love these things, and you won't have motivational curves
for the whole time.
forever.
No,
No,
it's just the starting point. And so
exactly.
stop thinking that you're going to be motivated every single day. You're going
Yeah,
to have days when it's a bad day
yeah,
and you
yeah,
don't want to
yeah.
do it and you're going to moan. Fine. It's good to get you off the ground and it's good to help you start build those
Mm,
small habits. And I think, stack the habits as you keep saying it, it's so important, link
yeah.
one to another and it will just happen really almost under the radar, and before you know
Yeah,
it,
absolutely.
I mean,
You'll
somebody I was speaking to the other
yeah,
day said, "Oh, I'm really sad because now I can't go to the supermarket because it takes me twice as long to get round because I have to read every food label." And I said, "Oh, well, that's okay because soon you'll have
yeah,
had so much more knowledge about what you do and do not want to have. You'll be back to whizzing around because you'll know
exactly. Yeah.
instinctively that one isn't the one for
You're
me."
just redesigning something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just
But
chipping
I
away at
think
the edges.
people make the mistake of thinking that that motivational wave, and that's why I'm interested in the whole thing, will always be there,
Yes.
and it really, really
It really,
won't.
really won't.
And
Yes.
even I was speaking to one of my daughters yesterday, goes strength training after work, I don't know, 3 times a week or whatever she does. And she said, I never ever want to do it, but I always feel great when I come out.
Yeah,
And I think a lot of exercise, certainly structured exercise, is sort of
is
like
like that.
that. So
Yeah.
why not just sort that reward somehow into the
Yeah.
plan and don't
Mm.
expect yourself to love doing
Yeah, don't put so
push-ups. I
much pressure
mean,
on yourself to enjoy it so
yes,
much. Yeah.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
there is exercise to enjoy, but
Of
a
course.
lot of structured exercise, that particularly strength training, You might enjoy the effect and you might enjoy having done it, but I can
Mm,
promise you, often you'll find there's no motivational curve to get you dancing in the door
yeah. I
of
mean,
doing
there
it.
are days when or weeks when I do my strength training where I'm
Mm.
just like, really don't want to do this,
Yeah.
but I'm just going to do it,
Yeah.
and then
Because
there are
what's your
days where I'm like,
excuse to not? You
well,
see, I
exactly,
mean,
that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah,
what
exactly.
exactly? Because what are you doing it for? And I suppose that's what we've got to.
When
We've
you've
got to
got
the
the
nitty gritty of
yeah,
why we're doing this stuff.
when you know what you're doing it
Yeah,
for and
yeah.
you're
You're
really sort of
convinced.
convinced of it, you'll it's easier to do.
You won't need a motivational wave. And although that motivational wave is fun to start new
Mm,
things, just building a bit of tempered
reward.
expectation about
Yeah,
exactly how long that will last, and start to put those small habits in right from the beginning. You can use your wave by all means to
yeah,
get
yeah. But
that.
exploit your wave.
Yes,
Don't depend on
exploited,
it.
but expect that it's going to wane.
Yeah, cool,
So that's all I wanted to talk about today.
lovely. I think it comes down to the crux of the matter that you are definitely worth it. You are worth the
Yes.
best that you can possibly give
Yes.
yourself.
And we
Yeah.
both know that we are definitely worth what we do,
Mm.
even when I moan every day. Yeah. Who
On that
thought
happy
of
note,
this? I really hate it. I don't want to do it. Yeah,
what a good
anyway.
example you're setting, Marianne.
But I always do it.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Because I
Okay.
really badly want to live well.
Yes, I really badly want to live well. I like that.
Really, really badly want to live well.
It's better than living well badly. Okay, right. I'll see you next time.
Yeah, nice to see you. See you
Take
soon.
care.
Bye for
Bye-bye.
now.